Hey, happy Friday, Chicago. This is Jerry Vasilatos, your host at Chicago Corner, and I welcome you all to joining me for another Friday night edition where we will cover the news that is affecting our city, our citizens, our safety, our sanity. A lot to go over tonight. And again, as I mentioned last show, this is like ongoing stories. It's like Groundhog Day here in Chicago. The stuff that we'll be going over, a couple new developments, new stories I also want to share. But before I go further, I want to invite or welcome my guest host, Mr. Kit Cabello.
It's always good to be back here on Chicago Corner, one of if not the second best, greatest channels here for Chicago independent media. This, of course, first is Heartlands Media, but nonetheless, Chicago is the second city, so Chicago Corner could be a good second place right there in my heart. But nonetheless, great work, and really am glad to be a contributor to Chicago Corner and building this channel up. So let's go ahead and talk about what is happening and what is going on. And speaking of which, I guess our colleague Oreo is there too. So.
Yeah, he just decided to take center stage while I was getting our video screen set up. You know, the thing about this, Oreo, is if you want to be on the show, you don't look at me, you look at the audience. So why don't let me see if I can shift you around a little bit, or just kind of put you to the side. Is that what you want to do? Oh, now he's under the camera lens. Now he's all shy. He's going to jump on the keyboard in a second. Anyway, for those of you joining the show for the first time, that's my little friend Oreo, who sometimes thinks he's a co-host. He likes to jump on camera. Anyway, let me go into our first story, though. Let me bring the screen up before he sits on the keyboard and screws something up. This is an update from the story shared on Tuesday regarding the murder over the weekend of Melissa Ortega, 8-year-old Melissa Ortega. This comes to us from WTTW Chicago. I want to run the coverage that they did regarding the press conference and some of their commentary before I bring us out, and then go into talking or sharing the article that came to us from Block Club Chicago with more details on the two teens that were apprehended and charged. One of them was on probation for 2 carjackings when he shot the 8-year-old. So, you know, this speaks a lot to an ongoing issue that the police department's talking about, and I can't blame them, in regards to the home monitoring programs. And are there really violent offenders that are being put on these home monitoring programs that then allow for this kind of bullshit to go on or to happen, where kids are getting shot down by a guy who was on probation for 2 carjackings that maybe should have been in lockup somewhere instead of at home, where he could then roam the streets with his I want to say co-conspirator when they decided to start shooting and killing this 8-year-old girl. So let me go to the WTTW video first.
Charges in the killing of an 8-year-old bring a rare news conference and the politics of naming a new Supreme Court justice in tonight's Spotlight Politics. Here with all that and more are Amanda Vinicky and Heather Sharon. So today we know Mayor Lightfoot appeared with Police Superintendent David Brown and Cook County State's Attorney Kim Fox to announce charges in the fatal shooting of an 8-year-old in Little Village. Here's what they said when asked about this rare joint news conference today.
The tragedies that we have seen during the course of this year and last and historically requires us to come together.
It is a unique opportunity for us to have a public showing of what happens behind the scenes.
I think you'll see more opportunities for us to demonstrate a unity of purpose.
Heather, does this indicate, a deep freeze thawing between the CPD, the mayor's office, and the state's attorney?
Well, I don't know about that, but it was certainly in everybody's best interest to play nice in front of the cameras today, to show a unified front in the wake of this horrific death of 8-year-old Melissa.
I find that an interesting point, Kit, that I'm glad that they seized upon. Everybody's playing nice in front of the cameras.
Yeah.
Re-election season's coming up, right?
Yeah. Well, in 2023 will be the next city election. However, there will be some local elections and some judges that will be running in 2022 for this midterm election cycle, including, least us forget, the governor's race that will take place. So politics is in play and people are pretending. All of this is for show, but I have my opinion about really more on this story. But continue on.
Yeah, let me let the video continue.
Ortega. But I think that the animosity between Kim Foxx and Mayor Lightfoot has been overstated. Let's not forget that Lightfoot
Overstated.
Foxx for re-election, and certainly she has had her criticism of Kim Foxx. But the fact of the matter is that they're both Democrats. They both are on the same team, and their both successes depend on each other. And I think sometimes it's an easy way to sort of shorthand tension between these two.
Their successes depend on each other.
Fuck the Democratic Party. I'm sorry.
Different needs and
Yep.
very different powers. When it comes to crime in Chicago and Cook County, it's a very complicated issue.
Amanda, does the mayor stand to benefit from better relations with Kim Foxx, especially regarding tackling Chicago's violence problem?
I'm really glad that they're punching these buttons, Kit. Let me let it go on. Because it clearly, transparently, that's what it's about, I think. Most of it.
Long overdue.
If it comes to actually tackling the problem, if there is resolution, if crime goes down, if this leads to something, then yes, that would, of course, take aside politics for a heartbeat. That would be the best for all of Chicago. Of course, that is the goal that everybody wants. Politically, yeah, it would look good to get along. I think there are some people, it is easy, of course, politically to have somebody to point a finger at. I think Heather's right. Sometimes there's overblown tensions. Some of it, however, is very much, I think, real. You want something done, and it isn't happening when it comes to crime. And so, yes, I think the long and short of it is if they can come forward and show that they're working together, that would make her look better. As we just talked about, she's gearing up for re-election.
Now, Heather, we know today
Make her look better as she's gearing up for re-election.
you covered city council meeting where Alderman Anthony Beal tried to get a lawyer to help city council members explain why this was a contentious issue.
Well, it's
I got to highlight Kathy's comment. Yeah, very good point, Kathy. What would they do if they didn't have a crime to politic about?
Yeah. God, again. Hold on, wait. Pause it here real quick, if you can.
Other older people want their own.
If you can pause it here real quick.
Oh, pause it. I'm sorry, Kit.
Yeah.
I misunderstood you. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. But I just want to address something here, especially when it comes down to politics and crime. You know, it's something that the politicians can use all the time just to make their image look good. And we've seen this used before all the time. Let's face it. A good crisis for a politician, they will jump on it any single minute of every single day. That's what these politicians are good at, especially in Chicago.
Yep. Agreed. As Rahm Emanuel used to say, never let a good crisis go to waste if it's going to help you up your numbers and seize
the city's corporation council rules against
more
something
favorable
that a majority of the
approval
council
ratings.
wants, they can sort of push back. Because right now, if the mayor rules something on the council floor out of order and the corporation counsel's office agrees with her, sometimes the city council is out of luck and they're very, very frustrated with that. And I think today was a great example of
And Duncan's jumping in.
parliamentary procedure to prevent something from happening that the mayor doesn't want to happen. Now she says she's in favor of the city council having their own lawyer.
Now, this is something that actually they're transitioning into that Kathy Powers had shared with me in an email about Robert's rules versus Lightfoot's rules in city council. I think this is what they're getting into right now. I think, but I just wanted to reference that and also thank Kathy for sending me that email because I didn't get a chance to see the whole city council meeting. And I'm hoping I can review it before next week so we can talk about it. But this issue that the reporter's talking about, let me continue.
She just wants them to do it in a rational, thought out, comprehensive sort of way, because the motion on the floor today didn't say how much this would cost. So some aldermen were reluctant to vote for it because they didn't want to put the city on the hook for potentially, more than $100,000 for a full-time staff person. So this is a debate that's going to come up. But for people who love Robert's Rules of Order, today was a bit unfair.
Robert's Rules of Order. Speaking of contentious issues, the battle over a new ward map continues between the Latino and the Black caucus.
Okay, we can jump out of it there because it
It appears that
it shifted away from the Melissa Ortega details in that press conference with Brown and Fox, and Lightfoot. But Kit, before we continue talking about it, let me go into the Block Club Chicago article that gives more details on the killers. And let me bring that screen up. I don't think that they've run photos yet of the perps, but I'm going to add the Block Club Chicago article as it comes to us from Madison Saavedra. Teen charged with Melissa Ortega's murder was on probation for 2 carjackings when he shot the 8-year-old, prosecutors say. The 16-year-old and driver Javier Guzman, who was 27, were in a marked taxi that circled Melissa's vigil that night, prosecutors said. Both were held on no bail Thursday. Really smart. They decided to circle the vigil happening in the street for the victim that they both shot, and somehow that's how the cops ended up finding them. The teen is charged as an adult with first-degree murder and multiple gun charges. Judge Susana Ortiz ordered the teen, who is charged as an adult and his alleged accomplice, held without bail Thursday. Prosecutors allege the 2 were caught on multiple surveillance videos going... What is the first rule that you follow if you commit a crime, Kit? Do you ever return to the scene of the crime?
No, you never do.
Okay, so prosecutors allege these 2 knuckleheads were caught on multiple surveillance videos going to the scene of the murder and then fleeing Saturday. Both were captured on camera going to a Subway sandwich shop to eat immediately after Melissa was killed. The video showed them laughing without a care in the world, Assistant State's Attorney James Murphy said at the hearing. Javier Guzman, who was accused of driving the teen to the shooting in his marked taxi, is charged with murder, attempted murder, and unauthorized use of a weapon. Melissa was shot and killed Saturday afternoon in a little village while she walked down the street with her mother on the 4000 block of West 26th Street. Police said Melissa and her mother were not the intended targets of the shooting, which was related to an ongoing gang conflict. On Saturday afternoon, Guzman was driving the distinctly marked cab when he picked up the teen from his home and drove into the bustling 26th Street, the prosecutor said. A 29-year-old man flashed gang signs as the car drove by, Murphy said. Then the 16-year-old got out of the cab and fired multiple shots on the street crowded with people, Murphy said. The 29-year-old man was shot in his lower back. Bullets also struck a nearby car with a 47-year-old man and his 9-year-old daughter inside, but they were not injured, Murphy said. Melissa and her mother, Araceli Llanos, began running down the street. Melissa was shot in the head and died, the prosecutor said. The shooter and Guzman fled the scene in the cab and went to a Subway where they bought sandwiches and were seen laughing without a care in the world. Murphy said they then drove to a gas station to get drinks, the prosecutor said. Murphy said the shooter's face is not clearly seen on video during the shooting. The shooter was wearing a dark jacket with the hood up and a black face mask, but the 16-year-old is seen on video in that same outfit in the Subway sandwich shop, and again with his face clearly visible on video at a gas station later that day, Murphy said. Later Saturday night, the same GPS-tracked cab twice drove by Melissa's vigil at the spot where she died, Murphy said. When police tracked down Guzman's car and arrested him Monday, they found a fingerprint on the passenger side of the car that was later matched to the 16-year-old, the prosecutor said. Police also found a gun on the cab that matched casings found at the shooting. All right, so this is some good police work, yeah? Guzman's phone, which was recovered by police, had a video with him saying he was in the area of the shooting when Melissa was killed and referred to the shooter with the 16-year-old's nickname, Murphy said. It also showed communication between Guzman and the teen. During Thursday's hearing, a defense attorney argued the shooting was instigated by the 29-year-old who was flashing gang signs on the street as Guzman and the teen drove by. Prosecutors rejected that. In ordering both held on no bail, Ortiz said the teen and Guzman presented a danger to the community. To fire firearms, anywhere for that matter, within the confines of the city of Chicago, but certainly on that date, time, and location, shows an absolute disregard for human life, Ortiz said. Once again, we see today that it was easier for children to obtain firearms than it is for them to obtain a packet of cigarettes. Firearms in the hands of someone this age constitutes weapons of mass destruction. The 16-year-old pled guilty to, so here's the prior, okay? The 16-year-old pled guilty to 16 years old, Kit, 2 carjackings, and was on probation at the time of the shooting, Murphy said. The Sun-Times reports the teen was armed in both previous carjackings and hit one victim in the face with a gun. In January of 2021, he was charged in a carjacking that happened on January 19th, 2021. That's just earlier this year. He was released on electronic monitoring. I'm sorry, early last year. I'm losing track of the fact we just shifted into 2022. He was released on electronic monitoring in February of 2021, Murphy said. Now, in March of 2021, the 16-year-old was charged in a second carjacking. That happened January 10th of that year. He was released from electronic monitoring and put on a curfew in April. 2 carjackings. He's armed. They put him on electronic monitoring. Then they take him off electronic monitoring and put him on curfew in April. He then was charged in a carjacking that happened May 27th of 2021. He was released on electronic monitoring in June. Now, one thing I want to sidestep here, I'm all for the electronic monitoring with nonviolent offenders. This is clearly a violent offender. Why do you put him on electronic monitoring and then remove him from electronic monitoring? In August, the electronic monitoring was terminated by a judge and he was placed on a curfew, the prosecutor said. Again, he's not taken up the justice system. He's not in jail. Why the fuck would a judge monitoring last August when he's charged with a carjacking that happened in January, February, and May? The 16-year-old pled guilty to 2 carjackings in October, and he was sentenced to 3 years probation in December, Murphy said. Guzman did not have any known criminal history, the defense attorney said. Melissa and her mother had just immigrated to Chicago from Mexico in August. A GoFundMe has raised over $86,000 as of Thursday, well over the $20,000 goal to pay for the funeral and bring her body back to her hometown of Los Sauces in Tabasco, Mexico. In a devastating interview Monday, Melissa's mother called for the person who killed her daughter to be brought to justice. You took my entire life, Liano said in Spanish during an interview with Univision's Despierta America. You took the most beautiful thing. You took my reason for living. You have taken dreams from a marvelous girl. In a prepared statement read at a press conference announcing the charges Wednesday, Liano said she planned to buy her daughter a hamburger after they ran to the bank the day she was killed. I wasn't able to fulfill that promise, she said, as her daughter stopped. As her daughter stopped holding her hand and fell to the ground in a pool of blood. She told the community, let Melissa be the last child that dies from gun violence in this neighborhood. No mother should have to bury her own child. Lianos also repeated comments from a previous interview in which she told her daughter's killers she forgives them. I don't know that I could do that. You were a victim too, Lianos said. As a 16-year-old, the community failed you. Man, this is a big lady. Big. I couldn't do this. As a 16-year-old, the community failed you just like it failed my precious baby, although I do hope that in the many years you spend in prison, you get time to reflect on your actions because you took away the most valuable thing I had in my life, my princess Melissa. Now, I all kudos and absolute respect to Lianos. But this guy, this 16-year-old, 3 carjackings. They took him off the home monitoring and put him on probation. Yeah, I guess the system did fail him because they should have thrown him somewhere that he couldn't commit the other 2 carjackings, let alone wander around with his buddy, shoot into a crowd and kill Melissa. All right, Kit, your thoughts.
It's hard to really give thoughts on this because I have no idea what it's like to lose a child. I don't. I have no idea what it's like to lose a child. I have no idea what it means to be a parent. But let's talk about, first of all, the courage of this young woman who lost her daughter. She has forgiven the 2 assailants. And obviously, these 2 men must face due process through court. We are a society of rules and laws. She has forgiven them, and it's quite clear there's a lot of evidence that shows that these are the 2 perpetrators behind the death of this innocent girl.
Look at this comment real quick, Kit. Kathy says,
"Who's really?" I was going to get to that.
Yeah, and this goes to the politics of the press conference we saw earlier.
So, who is guilty here? Now, I have said on the show that I believe that the world is filled with good people, but there are bad guys. There are people who just don't want to do good. I understand that. I think we all understand that. These 2 individuals, maybe in another life, maybe if society was different, maybe they'd be different people too. But they're not. The community and the city and the system we live in failed all of us, failed them too. And they have to reflect on the things that they've done. However, who is guilty here? Let's be very clear here about what we're dealing here with Cook County and our prison system. it's overcrowded. And
why is that? Because of things we talk about every goddamn show.
Because of war on drugs, because of police corruption, of individual innocent men and women who have been victims of this war on drugs, be prosecuted for crimes they didn't commit. But however, there are cracks in the system because the system is not perfect. And the bad guys, some real bad guys, do slip through. These two individuals, especially the 16-year-old, is one of them. Now, again, they have to go through court, due process, innocent until proven guilty, but it's quite clear there's evidence showing that they are guilty. I would say that right now, who is really the guilty party is the political system that has created the prison industrial complex, especially here in the city of Chicago, as well as our politicians.
The judges.
Because,
how does a judge let this guy go out on parole? 3 carjackings. And, oh, well, you don't need the ankle monitor anymore. We're not going to put you in prison because we're overcrowded. And as you say, that's a huge issue. But you need to put the violent perps in jail. And when you've got a 16-year-old, look, okay, so he's not yet an adult, but he's clearly a menace and clearly a threat. Where do you put the 16-year-old if you're going to take him off ankle monitoring? Is it juvenile hall? Where is it? The kid was a threat. They're out for Subway sandwiches afterwards. It's a big joke to him.
And laughing about it too. They're clearly guilty. Those 2 individuals are guilty. But the court system, the judges, are guilty too.
Yep.
They should have been under severe monitorization. They should have been checked on regularly. But let's face it, we have a system that doesn't care about the safety of the community or the people. This is also, again, what leads towards gentrification happening all across the city of Chicago, especially in these areas where there is gang activity. Because let's face it, it causes more displacement and further people to leave the communities too. Because it all benefits the neoliberal system we're living in. And I want to acknowledge a chat too from Big Mr. Firebird, who says, I couldn't forgive. I don't see why I should. I understand. I think we all understand. Like, as we were put in that situation, it's difficult for a lot of us to comprehend forgiving. But look at the parent. She wants to keep the memory of her daughter alive. Should she be consumed with hatred forever? That will impact somebody. I think she took the high road of forgiving. I think it's something a lot of us couldn't do. But in order to remember her daughter the way she remembered her, she has to forgive. Justice is coming to those 2 men, and they're going to deal with the consequences and repercussions of their decisions that day. They will no longer be with us anymore. They'll be in the prison system. But the system itself failed to protect the community and that little girl. The judge is responsible. Everyone is responsible for those 2 men getting out and allowing to commit this crime. And I think Cassie Powers says the right words here. Sometimes forgiveness frees a person.
Yeah.
And I think the only way for the mother to truly be free is for her to actually take this high road of forgiveness. And I think it's something, even myself, I don't fully understand because I've never been in that situation. And I don't know what it means to be a parent. But I commend her for doing this. And I wish her peace for her ongoing life.
Well, as we're looking at the corruption and the reform that clearly needs to be integrated, if it means electing better judges or getting rid of these clowns.
And that's what this midterm is going to happen, as well as in 2023 too. There's going to be election of judges. And
the heart of it is what's happening in the neighborhoods with the gangs. Now, I want to tease a guest I'm going to have on next Tuesday that our viewers are familiar with. I'm not going to say who it is because I'm excited to have them back, but I got a text message from them. And I was hoping to have them on tonight as it related to the gangs and what was happening with the story. I'll read the text I got so people can tune in next Tuesday. They wrote, I wanted to say thank you for covering all of the violence in the city, even the interpersonal violence versus just police violence. It's something I'm passionate about and wanted to see covered in a better context than what we see on TV. I have some interesting info you might want as far as adding to what's going on. I've been able to connect with a lot of people on the west and south sides as far as what's really going on. I've been following a lot of COPA meetings as well as far as cases that are never solved. Long story short, my frustration has only grown over the last year, and I know you feel strongly about this issue. And you already know my thoughts on Lori Lightfoot. Let me know if you'd ever want to chat or discuss anything. I could connect you to some community activists on the south and west sides as well. anything to be able to really give a voice to what's going on in the streets right now. It's a war. It's block by block. Gangs are fractured. It's mostly little sets and cliques fighting over social media clout. I've also seen it sucks living in neighborhoods that are getting robbed more now, but as you know, it's literally nonstop in some places in the city. And the way the leaders gloss over it just disgusts me. I agree with you, and this is in relation to what we talked about earlier this week. This city is the most segregated in the country, and the machine hyper segregated, and the machine just keeps it running. I could go on and on, but really would love to talk to you about this. I've been following the documenting a story about the feds going after O Block, which is in direct proximity to the Obama Center that's being built too. So I was very, very excited and pleased to get that text from the person who sent it. And
I think I have an idea who it is. My detectives. We'll
yeah, I
talk
already
about
shared
it.
with Daniel. I didn't get a chance to share with you, but I contacted Daniel and saying I've got a great guest lined up, and I think that this is going to really add to the conversation.
I think I have an idea who it is.
Okay, so teasing for next Tuesday. Hope you all tune in because they
I
will
was out of the
join me.
loop, Jerry. You should have messaged me too.
You know what? This just happened. I'm sorry I didn't.
It's okay.
I just got caught up in stuff, but no, I was going to, and I wasn't even planning on teasing it tonight. But as we shifted into talking about the gangs, and I'm able to hide the identity by virtue of hiding the pronouns. I think you know who it is. But I'm very, very excited to have them back, and it's going to be a good show next week as we talk about this, since they are really embedded in the community, and I think are going to offer a lot of insight that I wish we could. I can't be out on the street for pandemic reasons, but also for personal mobility reasons regarding my recovery. Although I'm hoping that I can return to the field with the rest of our team, but I'm really glad that they contacted me. So anyway, let's go to the live chat. True Democracy Now! Shares, this is what happens when citizens have no voice on political decisions that affect the safety, health, and financial welfare of those in our communities. Kathy Powers, a surprise guest. Ooh, is it Peg Leg? I'm sorry, Kathy, it's not.
It's not Peg
It's
Leg.
not. But I think you're all going to be excited when they return. So any other thoughts, Kit, before I move into our next story, which is more Groundhog Day from what we reported on Tuesday?
What I want to just say is forgiveness is the best weapon. Sometimes taking higher ground is it. And I understand that a lot of people would have a hard time forgiving, but it does take a lot of courage and power to do so. And I wish for the mother of the child that was lost all the best in her life. And I wish her to find peace. I know that there's nothing I say that can make things better. There's nothing I can say. I'm just offering.
No one can say it. Yeah.
But I just offer condolences, and I am in awe of the high road that she has taken. I don't think I could forgive somebody like that if they did something like that to me. But
I'm going to be completely honest and say I don't know that I could ever if it involved robbing me of a loved one in my life. I'd like to try to take the high road and think that I could aspire to that. I don't know that I could. I've had people cross me in my life in other ways that weren't life or death that I've eventually come to forgive. And a lot of forgiveness does have to do with stepping out of your own shoes, putting yourself in the other person's shoes, taking yourself out of it and trying to understand what brought that person to the point where they decided to wrong you. And in a lot of cases, I've been able to look at that and say, it wasn't intentional, it wasn't personal. Of course, this is with like lighter kinds of grievances, right? And I think forgiveness comes with time. Then there are those who you recognize really didn't have a conscience and are doing it with malice, not because of their life experiences that you want to understand, simply because they're sociopaths and they're selfish and they don't give a shit about other people. And those are the ones I can't forgive. But I think that she made a very good point here. Yeah, the system totally failed them. When you think of a 16-year-old whose brain is not even fully developed yet, and you're looking at the community this kid is growing up in, what is he surrounded with? Violence. I'm not condoning it. What opportunities, what choices, what chances do some of these kids have when our mayor, our city, our system has completely abandoned and failed these kids as well as their families. If they come from two-parent families, if they're coming from one-parent families, mental health clinics are shut down, the schools are shut down. Again, nobody condoned what this kid and his 27-year-old accomplice did.
Right.
But when you look at the deeper roots of what's been going on in these communities for decades, this is what breeds it. This is what we talk about when we point to we need proactive solutions, not reactive ones. And what's happening in these abandoned, and that's what they are, Kit, they're abandoned communities. TIF funds, money going to make downtown Chicago beautiful, to draw the tourism, to draw the money, not going into these communities while they're cutting services, and they won't even put fucking youth centers in with people of good intentions. Like, we keep bringing them up all the time because, frankly, he's the only guy that I know that we've had the opportunity to talk to, Jamal Green, but there are other activists that are trying to.
There's a lot of, by the way, I want to stress this out. This is what I mean by good people. There are a lot of activists all across the city of Chicago that are doing good, just not just doing protests, but actually trying to improve the community, get rid of these industrial facilities, build community centers, and reinvest into the city, unlike our city officials that are more than happy to ignore us. So there are good people in Chicago. It's just the light is not being shined on them. And that's why Chicago Corner exists, so that we can actually cover these people that are actually doing good for their communities and actually give them a platform to speak out of. And I'm looking forward to having more guests on Chicago Corner because let's face it, Jerry, Chicago's voice needs to get out there. We just can't let Fox News say, oh, it's violence or it's a communist city.
It's the brown people. It's the black people. Oh, yeah. They don't want to get jobs. They don't want to do. Yeah, maybe some of them don't. But to broad stroke and completely dismiss, disenfranchise, and completely isolate those that do, but don't have the wherewithal to seek the opportunities or get the jobs or whatever. This is why it continues, Kit, because you've got the idiots on Fox News. This is, who contribute to the continued blaming. It's black people. It's the Mexicans. It's the immigrants. It's the gangbangers. Okay. And what contributes to those socioeconomic groups, if you want to start pointing at race and ethnicity in those communities that are hyper segregated, as you share. Yes, they are.
Chicago's hyper segregated, not just segregated, hyper segregated.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
So okay, I don't want to. Yeah, I'm certainly not meaning to lighten up the tone of the news, but as we talk about, the good people that are in this city, the bad people. Have you seen this meme? This is we got Henry Kissinger and his wife. They look like the Penguin. We got Lori Lightfoot, who looks like a gangster. We've got this guy in the lower left who apparently thinks he's a cow. He works at the Chicago Securities and Options Exchange, and I guess his father was big in options that have to do with agriculture, so naturally he would dress like a cow. And you've got the pink-haired one on Rachel Maddow. We've literally got supervillains running things, but we don't unfortunately have the heroes.
Just remind me. I'm so sorry. I'm getting a brain. I'm having a brain freeze or a brain block.
Yeah.
But who directed the first Batman movie?
Christopher Nolan. Christopher Nolan. Batman Begins, set in Chicago. Using Chicago as Gotham. Yeah. Unless you're talking about the Michael Keaton one.
The Michael Keaton one. But hold on, Jerry, hold on. Little side note. Yeah. You said the correct answer. Batman Begins, set in Chicago. That's the one directed by Christopher Nolan. There you go. That's the series we talk about. But no, I'm talking about the Michael Keaton one, actually.
Okay.
Who was the name of the director?
Tim Burton.
Yeah, Tim Burton. Yeah. We're getting Tim Burton comic book villains in America now.
It's run by comic book villains. I was watching a video today about financial guru Susie Orman, who everybody looked to years ago on Oprah and The View, and she created her own debit card, a prepaid debit card that supposedly had no fees, only $3 a month. But if you called for assistance, you'd get charged here, you get charged there. The reason I'm pointing to her is this documentary I saw on YouTube points to. Look at how media elevates these sociopaths, whether it's our leaders like the ones I just shared in that meme, right, or people on any media program that get elevated by Oprah or The View or Rachel Maddow or Fox stations. You saw Don't Look Up, didn't you?
I did, and you know what? I actually did a second viewing, and I'm really upset with the ending because the thing is, like for me, no, I'm raging against the night. I'm not gonna have a meal and just accept the end. Fuck that noise.
Well,
we are going out swinging. We're going out swinging. There's no sitting down enjoying time. No. Everyone boot up, suit up, grab a gun. We're all going to shoot at that goddamn meteorite. Tell all the countries of the world, shoot their missiles at that goddamn meteorite. We're freaking taking it out, or we're going to die standing.
I really enjoyed the movie, though, Kid. I mean, the ending aside, what I appreciated the most about that movie was how it completely exposed how inept, how negligent, how dismissive, and how irrelevant our mainstream media hosts on not only these goofy shows like Oprah or The View, but mainstream news are, as it represented with the two actors that played the two hosts that had the scientists on the show and Don't Look Up. That is what our media is like. And that is what allows for these crazy assholes. Sorry, I'm not gonna like we see here that people. Oh yeah, I'll vote for that person. Oh, I'll follow that person. Oh, the news gives these people all these platforms, and this is why we're in the trouble. We're in the desperate trouble we're in right now. Whether it's our leaders, our media personalities, those guiding or look. This again, Susie Armand that led to my whole conversation or just commentary on how the media elevates people. She was an actress speaking for her financial overlords at Wall Street to guide people into financial ruin while she profited on it. And everybody that you see in media now elevated by the types of hosts we saw mocked in Don't Look Up are contributing to this problem, which is why we have YouTube, which is why we have Hardlens Media, which is why we're pointing to all the independent news shows or even commentary shows. If it's not direct news reporting and journalism, we are getting the news from trusted sources that you're not seeing on regular news. Look, the person who texted me, they wrote, I'm passionate about wanting to see this stuff covered in a better context than what we see on TV. And this is where you find it on YouTube.
Yeah, and the thing is, but even then on YouTube, I just wanted to say this, that there are independent media networks, very similar to Hardlens Media and Chicago Corner. But however, again, we are seeing a lot of people getting censored in the platform. Take, for example, Revolutionary Blackout Network or the Mikatsu Kasa Network. You have commentators, collaborators, reporters, journalists who are people of color, women, and are covering a lot of important key issues. But because of the way the YouTube algorithm is, and because of the stories that they cover, they're hit hard with the censorship, more so than anyone else. And they're getting started. They're trying to build their network up, but the censorship is very real. And I find it interesting, like, if we rewind back the clocks when Lightfoot was saying, I want to see more reporters of color. I want only people of color to interview me. Okay, Lightfoot, you got my attention. I agree with you. I agree with her. She's correct.
Well, she's abandoning the communities. But now, when somebody like Jane Levine, go ahead. I just want to lose my train of thought there too.
Yeah, because there's a twist to that, and that is number one. Okay, Lightfoot, if you're for that, use the TIF funds to invest into schools so schools can actually have media programs to help out the Latino communities and African American communities in the city of Chicago on the south and west sides. Do that. Also, maybe remove some of the shadow bans that's happening to some of these south side and west side independent journalist outlets that are there that are kind of prohibited or either that ignored when it comes down to reporters asking questions of politicians. You think Lightfoot would be on board on that? You think also Lightfoot would even condemn how you have these venture capitalists coming to these media outlets, these legacy media outlets, and gutting them like a fish?
Yeah.
But you'll never hear that from Lightfoot. She'll just say, "I want to play identity politics and do that." That's why we have independent media. That's why we should support Hardlens Media, Chicago Corner, Revolutionary Blackout Network, the Mikatsu Kasa Network, and everyone else that's speaking truth to power. So there we go.
She's pretend. Oh, I think that it's important to talk about this stuff. So I just want to talk to journalists of color while I completely ignore the people of color in the South and West Side communities, while I divert all the TIF money and everything else to downtown so we can draw in more tourism, while people are gunning each other down on the streets left and right because these communities don't have, these people don't have what those of us in better neighborhoods have. And, you know, I've said this many times, man. I'm lucky I grew up on the North Shore. I don't want to sound like I'm a bleeding heart liberal. I don't even want to use that word because that word's been co-opted in a bad way by Democrats, liberal, right? But I think because I grew up in a very sheltered community and then, you know, moved to the city where I went to college downtown and feel more like a Chicagoan, my eyes are open to what's going on, and my friendships and my alliances with people that of all colors that live in Chicago, you know, make me much more sensitive to what's going on. That most people, unless they're in the middle of it or have spent the time in these neighborhoods, are completely oblivious to. Yeah, I live on the North Side. I'm in a safer community. It's not perfect. I mean, there's a lot of crime in my community also, but it's certainly not even close to what's going on in the South and West Sides. And I grew up in a community where we didn't see any of that stuff. So, you know, it gets dismissed and disregarded and ignored by other communities that don't have to deal with it, which is why these people in these South and West Side neighborhoods are struggling because of that hyper segregation. Really quickly want to comment or share True Democracy Now's comment in the chat. Remember that our mainstream media is an entertainment platform to amuse and distract the public from serious news that affects their daily lives. It's exactly what it is. Mm-hmm. It's exactly what it is.
Because the corporations bought the news.
Yeah.
And again, you have these institutions that have no idea what journalism is supposed to be about.
No, it's all entertainment and distractions. And it came up again, more of a nationally related than Chicago related, but I think it's relevant to the conversation. When you watch any of these mainstream news shows, right? News stations on cable, sponsored by Pfizer, sponsored by Boeing. Are you going to buy an airplane? Are you going to buy a pharmaceutical wholesale? Of course not. These sponsors to these mainstream networks are paying off the networks from covering the pharmaceutical cartels, right? That Pfizer is a part of, or the military-industrial complex that Boeing is a part of. That's why you're not getting the news, because our mainstream news is co-opted and controlled by the dollars of their big sponsors that you see constantly their logos popping up during mainstream news broadcasts, which you're not going to see here or anywhere else because we're, not interested in that. I think it was Jimmy Dore that did a great segment on that also. You guys want to check out his channel. I think that it's subclipped. Look at it after the show. Don't leave us now. But NPR's even gotten worse, Kathy Powers. NPR used to be the voice of independent news. It's not anymore.
Well, NPR has a long history of actually going after independent news.
Yeah. Hey, E. Heller, glad to see you. It's the 1-year anniversary of Lightfoot's office time email. Anyway, talking about Groundhog Day from earlier, let's go into the next story because we thought it was over with, right? We thought it was over with. We reported last week on Tuesday, the Center for COVID Control, which sounds like it's a big government organization, they are shutting down. They are officially shutting down amid federal state investigations, employees have been told. Now, we thought that this story was going to end on Tuesday with this particular organization shutting down, okay? Let me segue into what's developed since then. Because you thought it was over with them. That was only the beginning, Kit. The COVID-19 testing company and its lab, Doctors Clinical Lab, have been the target of federal and state investigations after reports from Blog Club and other outlets. So they're shutting down, company leaders told employees during a meeting Thursday night, which would have been last night. Great. Guess what, though? Yet another COVID-19 testing company that got millions from the feds
millions of dollars.
Millions being investigated after patients say their results were flawed. I thought, oh wow, another company? No. There's a third one. Oh no, I'm sorry. That's the follow-up story. There is a third one. Another major COVID testing company, which got $186 million from the feds, is under investigation as complaints pile up. Kit, we're in the wrong business. We should have opened COVID testing sites.
No, actually, I couldn't do that. I can't.
No, well, look, if we opened them, I think you and I would have operated them above board because we have integrity and we would want to actually provide the proper test results because we're invested in helping people. The people who ran these centers enriched themselves clearly weren't. I'm not saying like, let's go in there and engage in criminal activity. I'm like,
here's the thing. Here's the thing. 186 million. I want to let you know that if that 186 million was used to help out small business owners in the city of Chicago, that would have saved a lot of struggling families.
Yep, absolutely.
Maybe that 186 million was used to, I don't know, making sure that people can have access to at least programs or city programs to help out the disabled or those that need aid, especially during the lockdown. I don't know. I'm just saying, we got money to burn, but we can't take care of our citizens. Again, this COVID-19 testing site. And Cassie Powers is right. I'm going to take the words as she said. It'll just reopen with a new name.
Now, Kathy shared an email with me, and Kathy, I have it queued. I'm going to talk about it. I want to talk about the articles, but I also want to share what Kathy shared with me in an email that she turned in a hokey testing site in Edgewater.
Good.
Salgado, getting rich is all about figuring out scams that haven't already been glutted, especially with federal money. All right, so here's what happened here. The first testing site that I'm like, oh, there's another, and another, and another. North Shore Clinical Labs. Let's make sure we identify these fuckers so people stay away from them. North Shore Clinical Labs is being investigated by multiple state agencies, and it's been cited at the highest level by federal regulators. It's received more than $154 million in public funding. The list of Chicago-based companies that operate COVID-19 testing sites now under investigation is growing. You would imagine that this is just like an anomaly, one place that dropped through the cracks. No. The investigation is growing with a third company under scrutiny after collecting more than $154 million from a federal government in a sea of consumer complaints. I'm not going to go through the whole article. I'm going to jump between the companies so people know the names. North Shore, and I'm going to get to Kathy Powers' email that she shared with me. North Shore Clinical Laboratories, which is not affiliated with North Shore Health System, but of course, that's what they wanted people to think. Worked with third-party pop-ups all over the United States before ending its partnerships with them in late December. It's also partnered with schools, nursing homes, politicians, and other groups on testing and vaccinations. It's processed at least 5 million tests, according to a federal report. But the federal agency that regulates labs has cited North Shore at its highest level, immediate jeopardy, in 3 areas with an inspection saying the lab failed to follow steps to ensure it got reliable results. The Illinois Department of Public Health is investigating the lab, a spokeswoman said. The Illinois Attorney General's office has received more than 40 complaints about North Shore Clinical Labs and is contacting consumers to get more information, a department spokeswoman said. Nevada and California's health departments are also investigating, and the Better Business Bureau, a nonprofit business watchdog program, has received 13 complaints about North Shore Clinical Labs. The group has given the lab an F rating. Meanwhile, another major COVID testing company, which got $186 million from the feds, O'Hare Clinical Lab.
My God.
O'Hare Clinical Lab is also under investigation. A Chicago-based testing chain with pop-ups across the United States is facing complaints and investigations. I could probably read this article from Block Club Chicago. Thank you to Kelly Bauer. And I think that she reported on both of these. Let me just double check. Yeah, she's been following this up. But I probably just be repeating all the same details from multiple testing companies that somehow didn't have to get licensure or really close eyes on whether or not they were going to be safe operations by anybody at a state level in our public health sector. We talked about Tuesday. Did these places get approvals because of backroom deals with we're speculating politicians or officials that just allowed them to get whatever, what do they call them? Not licenses, whatever contracts were available to get the funding to open up. We don't know yet. I'm sure that's gonna come under scrutiny also. Now, this article really quickly, the Omicron surge provided enormous unforeseen challenges for O'Hare Clinical Lab. Here's their mea culpa, as it did for many in the healthcare industry. And for a short time, lab results were delayed. An O'Hare Clinical Lab representative said in an emailed statement, many of our staff were out sick with COVID, and so we were not able to provide our customers with quick and reliable results they expect and deserve. We are sorry for any previous delays. The company is now providing results within 72 hours, and in most cases, 24 hours, a spokeswoman said. But some customers told Block Club they're still waiting on results from tests. These fucking places should all just be shut down. Done. Shut them down. Find out what's going on. Because the follow-up article that I wanted to bring attention to here is that in the wake of all of these testing clinics that have provided no results, wrong results, bad service, how many people died from the lack of results that were actually mismanaged? Now, as reported by Kelly, Chicago opens more COVID-19 testing sites after residents struggled for months to find tests they trust. Why wasn't this the priority instead of passing it along to all these Mickey Mouse pop-up operations that apparently had no oversight, that potentially risked the safety of how many people's lives? This article from Kelly. Now, the sites, this is the result of Block Club's reporting, and I tip my hat to them and Kelly. The Chicago sites that are opening come after Block Club revealed issues at pop-up testing sites that now face state and federal investigations. Many Chicagoans said they felt like they were forced to turn to pop-ups since there were few city-run sites. Why? How much money do we remember the mayor got, Kit, last year for COVID relief from the feds?
She got a lot more than just $1 million.
60% went where?
I think it went to the CPD
For overtime, right?
Yeah.
Where didn't it go? In relation to what happened earlier this month with CPS.
Didn't go to the schools, didn't go to the community centers, didn't go anywhere except towards Lightfoot's police department, the same police department that's giving her the middle finger.
Oh,
and again, wait. She also used that money to pay off the debt too. The city
Thank you. That's what I was about to say. Let's not forget the banks got the federal money that they could have waited on.
Yep.
Because Lightfoot wanted to pretend that she was the big hero balancing the city debt using the bailout from the feds instead of figuring out how to dip into the fucking TIF funds. All right, so let's go into what Kelly continues to report here. This story has been updated to clarify the North Park testing site is operated with the Illinois Department of Public Health and has been open since the summer. The city of Chicago is not affiliated with it. Chicago's health department has opened 2 more COVID-19 testing sites after residents have struggled for weeks to find tests they trust. Testing at the sites is free and open to all, though appointments are required, according to the Chicago Department of Public Health news release. The new sites located downtown, excuse me, I keep scratching my nose, were opened in response to the Omicron surge, according to the department. The new testing sites are at DePaul University, 333 South State Street, and all of this is linked in the show notes below in the YouTube description, so you can click through to our Google Doc and find this article with all of these locations. Dirksen Federal Building at 219 South Dearborn Street, open 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. People may also get tested at Northeastern University at 5500 North St. Louis Avenue, Building E. It's open 9 a.m., noon Mondays and Wednesdays, and 2 to 5 p.m. Tuesdays and Thursdays. That site is run in partnership between the Illinois Department of Public Health and SHIELD. Kit, the Illinois Department of Public Health and SHIELD should have been running and overseeing all of these fucking pop-ups, these private pop-up sites that got all that federal money.
Well, let's look at Chicago's history of privatization. We privatized the CTA. We have privatized parking. We have privatized education with the charter schools and the other private schools here in the city of Chicago that are slowly gentrifying our neighborhoods. We have privatized community areas. We have privatized so much. And the thing is, the state and a lot of our elected leaders don't have the courage or the backbone to challenge the privatization of our system because they're bought and owned by the same people who are privatizing our city. It's a sick system. And remember, we covered that story of that one guy who said, hey, how come you getting that nice car? What are you doing with all this good stuff? How come you got all the bling? Oh, COVID money, bro, COVID money. This is blood money at this point. Good, innocent people were hurt, and the state of Illinois, city of Chicago, and Cook County failed them. Failed them all.
I want to, before I go back to the article, I don't know that everybody can read it clearly. I brought it up. This was Kathy Powers' email to me. And Kathy, I'm going to take it off screen and read from it just because it might be a little hard to for people to see it there. But let me share what Kathy emailed to me. Now, she turned in one of these hokey clinics, and in the chat she shares, mine was Loop Medical Center with several Chicago sites, including one in Denver. I asked to see its license, no license shown, open 1/17/2022. And let me share what came in Kathy's email to me as it relates to she turned in a hokey testing site in Edgewater. So Kathy wrote to me. So she shared, sorry guys, I'm juggling screens here. I want to be able to bring back up. Oh no, I think I may have lost. Give me 1 second here. I'm going to bring up a window to put back over here. And I'm going to share the image that Kathy shared with me here. So give me a second. Okay. Pop this up full screen. Please bear with me. All right, now I'm going to share the screen. So this is what came in Kathy's email. And this is what she said. You'd think they were testing at City Hall, right? Because in this particular Loop Mission Center, COVID-19 testing locations, Loop Medical Center, City Hall, right here, right there, I'm pointing at it. You'd think they were testing at City Hall, right? City Hall is a banquet site at 828 West Kinsey. That's the kind of misdirection that these testing sites have been engaging in to fool people. Now, Kathy shared in the email, I don't know when the Ravenswood site opened. I asked to see its license at the Edgewater site. It refused upon investigation. I found it certified, but I couldn't find any licensure information on the database. I think they're hinky. Some official needs to look into them. Yeah, they do. Thankfully, we've got people like Kathy who are vigilant, as I encourage people to be, at the end of our broadcast here at Chicago Corner. But she said that in the original subject matter for the email, I just fell into another drop-in testing site entity scam, Loop Medical Center. By the way, they asked for insurance. You open up the rest of it. They asked for insurance info. Are they billing insurance and the government? This is what we've seen a lot of these centers doing. When you go in, they want to have your private insurance, and then they also bill the government. But going back to the rest of the article from Block Club Chicago, that's now citing all of the centers the public health department is opening. People must register in advance to get tested at 3 sites that are being run in partnership with Shield, Illinois, according to a health department news release. Go online and use the code DF5BRBRJ to register. That's not too hard to remember. The openings come after weeks of Chicagoans struggling to get tested during this wave of COVID-19, and the sites didn't open until Chicago was already coming down from its peak of Omicron cases. Officials advised Chicagoans to get tested if they wanted to gather with family and friends during the holiday season, but the city shut down many of the testing sites it ran last year. Health clinics and doctors' offices were booked up, and stores were sold out of at-home tests. Many Chicagoans said they felt like they were forced to turn to questionable for-profit pop-up testing sites. Again, Mayor Lightfoot. We know where all the money went. I'm just beating a dead horse.
Yeah, it's hard to just to really just look at this and just say, well, this is the city of Chicago. We guess we have to deal with it. The answer is no. There is another way. And the thing is, in 2023, we need people in the city of Chicago to step up.
And sorry to interrupt you, but we have a story at the end of the show that's going to explain exactly how you can, if you've got the stomach for it.
All right, then let's go and push forward to that. But again, if we want change, the people of Chicago got to step up. Not just through our politicians. We can't rely on them. No, there are some good people, but it's up to the citizens of Chicago.
It's as Bruce Wayne said in Batman Begins, as played by Christian Bale. There are good people in Gotham. Let's not give up on it.
Don't give up Hell's Reach. There we go.
All right. So
Gotham and Hell's Reach. There's Chicago. There you go.
Right. All right. So did I cover everything else? I think I covered everything else in that article that I wanted to. Blog Club has revealed numerous issues at such sites and multiple Chicago-based testing companies, blah, blah. We went over all that. Now, people can go online to get more information about the testing, again, down in the show links. There's a lot of information here that I think is important, but I would be taking a lot of show time to go through if I went into detail, but I'm just going to scroll down so you guys can see good, important information there. If you need to get COVID tested, and avoid these Mickey Mouse pop-up sites, everything's there linked below. All right, kids, so let me go to our next story. And I thought that this is kind of a little bit of a feel-good story, depending on where the money's going, before we get to how citizens can change what's going on here. All right, so I think we reported on this last year how, especially along the north side, the shoreline is just being buffeted by the lake and from climate change, right? So plans to protect Chicago's shoreline, block Asian carp from the Great Lakes, receive millions in federal funding. Great. Again, I hope, let's keep our fingers crossed the federal funding goes to the organizations here in the city that are actually going to take care of this. Look at this.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, right?
Always.
Fingers crossed. It's from Rogers Park. High lake levels, flooding, and erosion in recent years are a forewarning of what's to come without swift and decisive action to protect the lakefront, Representative Bobby Rush said Thursday. Projects to protect Chicago's fragile lakefronts from the impacts of climate change and invasive species will receive millions of dollars in federal funding. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers General Reevaluation Report, an upcoming study of lakefront protection needs across Chicago, is among the projects supported by the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act passed in November. Illinois will receive $17 billion of the $1.3 trillion package. That's a lot of money. The study will receive $1.5 million from the federal government as officials work to protect the shoreline from erosion and flooding amid an increasingly unpredictable climate. I've seen the shoreline breaking down South Shore also, as this photo shows up in Rogers Park. The shoreline study may be the most important investment for the city and for this area in terms of making sure that we are prepared for what is coming inevitably, Senator Dick Durbin said during a news conference Thursday at the Shedd Aquarium. The Army Corps will review shoreline needs from suburban Wilmette to the Indiana border, though the agency will take a closer look at several priority areas, a project manager said last summer. The priority areas include Junaway Beach, Promontory Point, 67th to 73rd Streets, including La Rabida Children's Hospital, and South Water Purification Plant at Rainbow Beach. With another $1.5 million already pledged to the city, the study is now fully funded, Mayor Lori Lightfoot said. I just hope she doesn't have her hands on distributing this. Kit.
The answer is probably yeah, or we'll find a way to do so.
Right. Lake Michigan is a crucial and iconic part of Chicago, Lightfoot said. We not only rely upon it for our clean water, but its beautiful shoreline draws residents and visitors alike to our city, making it vital to our tourism industry and economy as a whole. That's
always about the dollars, Lightfoot. Let's build a 10-foot barrier for a lake that rises 20 feet sometimes.
Doesn't affect the downtown shoreline, though. I've never seen it affecting the downtown shoreline.
I've seen it on Lakeshore Drive near where the Searstown Water Tower is at, where I've seen a lake
Oh yeah. Actually, North Avenue Beach. We do see. Okay, we do see it.
I've seen it occasionally.
Look at those waves. That's at Montrose Beach on March 18th, 2021. In recent years, officials and residents have repeatedly said reinforcing Chicago's lakefront is a priority. High lake levels and severe storms have eroded the existing shoreline and barriers while flooding lakefront communities. The devastation is merely a forewarning of what's to come without swift and decisive action, said Representative Bobby Rush. We do not have the luxury of waiting anymore. It is upon us now. I would agree. I don't know why we've waited this long with previous federal funds, but that I know we had to have gotten, right? This just didn't suddenly drop on us now. Rush has previously accused officials of focusing their lakefront protection efforts north of Roosevelt Road. Yeah, I don't doubt that. Of the 23 Chicago shoreline protection projects funded by Congress in 1996, the only two yet unfinished at Promontory Point and Morgan Shoal are on the south side. Officials gave updates on those two projects Thursday. Any shoreline upgrades at the iconic Promontory Point, which is on the National Register of Historic Places, must be completed with the state's Historic Preservation Officer's guidance, Lightfoot said. The Hyde Park area residents who have demanded the city preserve and rehabilitate the point's historical limestone barriers, not replace them with concrete, will also be involved, she said. They're going to have one or two opinions about what happens at Promontory Point, Lightfoot said. Representative Robin Kelly, who was also on hand for Thursday's news conference, supports a true preservation approach to repairing the point's limestone barriers, according to the Hyde Park Herald. Construction at Promontory Point won't begin until the project at Morgan Shoal from 45th to 51st Streets is completed, according to the city's capital plan. That could be years from now, as the agencies won't seek construction bids for the Shoal project until later this year. The city will spend $71.7 million over the next 5 years on the Morgan Shoal project, which is set to add 7 acres of parkland as a buffer between the lake and the adjacent community. Public meetings about the Shoal project will be held this summer, Lightfoot said. We're deeply committed to completing both the Promontory Point and Morgan Shoal projects in the near future, as the shoreline segments they cover are two of the most complex in the entire shoreline project. All right, so that came to us from Maxwell Evans reporting for Block Club Chicago. Wow. Step in the right direction. I too little too late. We don't know yet. But keep in mind this too, as reported by Maxwell. Alongside the government's lakefront efforts, South Shore residents have spent nearly 2 years advocating for improvements through the Southside Lakefront Erosion Task Force.
Southside will always be ignored. Sadly.
Second-class citizens.
Sadly.
Lightfoot wants to talk to black reporters while she ignores black residents. And she's a woman of color who proudly broadcasts that she's progressive because she's a lesbian and everything else. It's just identity politic pandering that doesn't matter. She's a corporatist. She's a neoliberal. She's no better than Rahm Emanuel, in many ways worse, and how she's just neglecting our residents. Neighbors have also invested in private engineering studies. Neighbors have invested in private engineering studies. Do you know how much those private engineering studies must cost?
It costs a lot. And the city of Chicago is abandoning the people on the south side. So here's the thing for a live viewing audience. There is a difference between the north and south side, but the segregation gets worse than that. The city is hyper segregated. And I didn't come up with the term. This is a term that's identifying Chicago, because on the south side and on the north side, there again, neighborhoods are split up. Neighborhoods are segregated. On the west side too of Chicago, it is very, very hyper segregated in this city. And when it comes down to anything, it's always the north side or the inner city that is favored, and the city of Chicago just ignores the south side, which is terrible.
Ed Heller shares, let's add a 10-foot barrier as the lake rises 20 feet. Yeah. Yep. You know what will really protect those buildings from the water? Another bean sculpture.
Yeah, why not? Why not? Another bean sculpture.
Kathy shares, we wrote an ordinance and it is stuck in the rules committee for almost a year. There is money to do it.
Oh yeah, no. Chicago has the money. We have money. We're not broke. Chicago's not broke. Read the book.
Yeah, she's a traitor. Hey, big Mr. Firebird's words, not mine. All right, let me continue with the rest of the article. Now, we were talking about the private engineering studies that residents have had to put money into. Neighbors. Those include water pumps and barriers to preserve their homes. Last month, they called on officials to consider using federal infrastructure funding to build breakwaters near 73rd Street and repair and reinforce the street and shoreline. The Army Corps did not commit to adding the 73rd Street proposal to its list of shoreline study priority areas Thursday. If there's opportunities, oh my God, look at this picture, man. This is what they're talking about. How about that? If there's opportunities to take a look at other areas, those will be explored if we can get to that point, Army Corps Deputy District Engineer Steve Fisher said. Rush urged the Army Corps to make sure they present to the citizens of this city what I call South Lakefront equity. Southsiders must be included more vigorously, more pointedly, and more financially in the efforts to improve our beloved lakefront. Look at that, man. The building is like crazy. Jesus Christ. Now, this is flooding the east end of 73rd Street during a storm last October 25th. Much like on the south side, north side homes and beaches, have been impacted by high lake levels and extreme weather. Representative Jan Chakowski said neighbors are concerned waves have undermined their condo buildings' foundations, while the Juneway, Rogers, and Howard Street beaches have been eroded, she said, as recent storms have brought Lake Michigan into residential areas, including some areas several blocks from the lakefront. The government is investing in long-term solutions to flooding and erosion, not just urgent repairs, Lightfoot said. Residents blocks away from the lake have had flooding in their basement, Lightfoot said. If you look at the census, where we have grown as a city is along our lake shore, so all the more reason why we need to make sure that we protect this incredibly valuable asset. There's money in the TIF funds, don't you think, Kit?
Oh, we have the money. But remember, Lightfoot doesn't care.
What do they say? It's like, what are we waiting for, an alien invasion? Is that what they're hoarding it all for?
No. What it is that here's the thing. A lot of these politicians, from Daley to Rahm Emanuel to Lightfoot, once they have access to these to the TIF funds, it's their own personal slush fund to pay off the people that have been good to them, and to work on their own vanity projects, or to continue on just the way things are just going along. And so, and True Democracy Now!, who's getting this federal money? Are the city, county, and state politicians getting it? The answer is yeah. There's a lot of corruption here in the city of Chicago, and Lightfoot is just only the beginning. There are career politicians and people in the background that have been bleeding the state of Illinois, city of Chicago, dry for years.
TrueDemocracyNow.org asks, who is getting this federal money? Are city, county, or state officials getting it? Kathy Powers shares, Lightfoot has that TIF money stuffed in her offshore mattress.
You know, I did have this feeling that this is the way that all this negativity is hitting Lightfoot. You know, this just my opinion, just a thought. Like eventually, like maybe Lightfoot just might have it up to here and actually bail out in the city and go somewhere where she can't be extradited and take actually some of that TIF money.
Sadly, I think she enjoys the power too much.
Yeah.
With all of the fundraising emails I'm getting from her, she's done.
Yeah, I know. I was just making like a what if scenario because I've seen a few skits where people have made fun of Lightfoot, or there's this one actress who actually did an impersonation of Lightfoot, and I'm just thinking like eventually sooner or later Lightfoot's got a crack. Like all this stuff, like no matter what she does, she keeps screwing up royally. There's got to be a breaking point where sooner or later Lightfoot's going to have a meltdown. She's overdue for like a meltdown of something.
Dare to dream.
Don't know what.
Dare to dream. Robert Hochstetter.
Whisper of a dream. Whisper of a dream.
Robert shares. Yeah, we thought the same thing, Robert. I thought previously it was just the dailies, and once they're gone, Chicago should be all set. Oh, no.
No, Robert.
We had Rahm Emanuel dumped on us. Now we've got Lori Lightfoot, lightweight, lockout. Just add whatever verb to the end of her name there. She's gonna snap on some Fox reporter one day. She hasn't already.
She could. So something's going to call. I don't know. Like I'm just thinking like she's overdue for like some kind of meltdown because she's been screwing up royally, left, right, up and down, all across Chicago politics.
I'm going back into the chat. Yeah, Ed, wouldn't that have been nice? Police overtime would stop the flooding. All right, so finishing up the article with the federal funding will also direct $225.8 million to upgrade the Brandon Road Lock and Dam near Joliet, the last best line of defense against the invasion of the Asian carp. Representative Bill Foster said, with the funding of the Army Corps will install an electric barrier, underwater sound barriers, an air bubble curtain, and a flushing lock to block Asian carp and other aquatic invasive species from entering the Great Lakes. It's hard to appreciate this threat unless you see it up close, Foster said. Seeing an entire river or an entire lake full of this invasive species just makes you sick to your stomach. I guarantee we do not want to see these in every tributary in the Great Lakes Basin. All right. Now, here's the feel-good, feel-good story, but for all the bitching we always do here on Chicago Corner, you know, I like to say if we can only find solutions, it would make things much better. So let me bring up this link, which I lost with the window a moment ago. Sorry, guys. Need to get an operator here to help with the windows that I'm always popping up to have ready.
In due time, Chicago Corner will have a state-of-the-art studio set, different platforms, different stages all around. It'll be like that one time on when Fox News revealed one of their news stations, and it looked like they were on the deck of the Star Trek Enterprise. They had
I'd love that. I'd love to be sitting in the captain's seat.
Yeah.
Dare to dream. All right, so here's the article. All right, guys. Tired of us bitching about it all the time? Where do you start? What do people always say if you want to get a start in politics? They say run for city council. Start small, grow from there. Here's an interesting article that I caught my attention from Block Club Chicago tonight, is reported by Maxwell Evans. Here's how to run for your local school council or serve as a judge in the April elections. The 2022 local school council elections will be held April 20th for elementary schools and April 21st for high schools. What Maxwell shares with us: Chicago Public Schools are gearing up for another local school council election season. Local school councils, also known as LSCs, are the governing bodies of public schools. The 2022 elections will be held April 20th for elementary schools and April 21st for high schools. Polls are open 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. each day. Traditional local school councils consist of the school's principals, 6 parents, 2 community members. Now, if you're not a parent, you can still participate as a community member in that school area. 2 teachers, 1 non-teacher staff member, and 1 to 3 students. Some schools with a specialized student population or educational focus have appointed local school council, said Marcus Pittman, a senior council facilitator for the district. Military schools have an appointed board of governors. But I'm looking at those 2 community members that are eligible during these elections. There are, quote, several significant changes in place for the elections, Pittman said at Wednesday's meeting of the Hyde Park Kentwood Community Actions Council. Voting will be done entirely in person this year. The district used a mail-in system for the 2020 elections that some voters said was confusing and poorly managed, according to Chalkbeat. Schools will use gyms and other multiple-purpose areas where people can easily socially distance for this year's elections, Pittman said. Kathy Powers, I know you're busy, but I don't know if you've considered maybe running in your district for one of those 2 available to community members. I mean, she's already very embedded in the system in a lot of community activist groups, but to be inside there along with others alongside her that are in these activist groups, I think could be valuable. And don't say, Jerry, why don't you do it? I got my hands full. Running this show and doing the other stuff I've been involved in. Schools will use, although, I mean, I don't want to completely abdicate responsibility, but my specialties are in other areas that would be better served by others who are constantly involved in the community, like people like Kathy and her companions are. Schools will use gyms and other multi-purpose areas where people can easily socially distance for this year's elections, Pittman said. All high school councils will have 3 student representatives. Elementary school councils will seat a student representative for the first time, as students currently in 6th grade or above may run in the upcoming election. I love that. The students should have a voice. Students will be elected by their peers through a poll of the school student body to be held April 18th or 19th. Other rules remain in place from previous elections. Parent and community representatives cannot be CPS employees, while community reps must be 17 or older and live in the school's attendance area or voting district. Applications to run in the 2022 council elections are available through the CPS website. Candidates must bring their applications and 2 forms of identification to the school where they're running by 3 p.m. March 4th. Now, many might ask, why run for your local school council? It's a starting point. It's an entry point. If you don't have the money to run for alderman or build up a campaign against an incumbent alderman, a lot of people start in school councils. It's where they can consolidate relationships with people, get more attention, build their visibility to potentially move on to other offices that might be more impactful, be more not important, but have more impact, as I said. So other rules remain in place from previous elections. Said that applications to run in the 2022 city council 2022 council elections are available through the CPS website. Candidates must bring their applications and 2 forms of identification to the school where they're running by 3 p.m. March 4th. Residents 18 or older may serve as local school council election judges who verify voters' eligibility, issue ballots, tally votes, and present election results to the school. Election judges must attend a 2-hour training, which is expected to be held in person, according to the district. Judges are not able to vote as they may not leave their post during the election, Pittman said. Candidates may serve as judges, and they will be assigned to a different school than the one which they're previously running for a council seat. Judges are paid $250 per day served and may work both election days. Food is provided. Election judge applications are available through the district's website, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, for more information on running for a local school council seat or serving as an election judge, contact the Office of Local School Council Relations at 773-553-1400. Again, all this stuff is linked in our show notes below in the show description. Local school council elections are typically held every 2 years in the spring, though the 2020 election was delayed until November due to the pandemic. More than 1,000 seats went unfilled after the 2020 election, and voter turnout for that election dropped 43% from 2018. In 2020, I quote, I had several schools that candidates were barely getting elected to the LSC with one vote that came in, Pittman said. Hopefully, with things returning to in person, I can say that will be a benefit of the 2022 election. The voter turnout hopefully will increase. Go for it, everybody.
Make it happen, folks.
Can't just listen to us bitching over here. There are entry-level places that hopefully some people can make a difference. And as True Democracy Now! Says, the reason our politicians have power to spend our tax money is that we voluntarily give it to them every election. We must learn how to transfer it from them to our citizens in the next elections, or participate in these local bodies where you might be able to make a difference. Kathy Power says, I'm there. I want to quit. Oh, she already is. Okay, so Kathy, this is good to know. Sorry, I wasn't paying attention to the chat while I was reading the article. I'm an LSC member and my school is corrupt as hell. She is already. She's there, but she wants to quit. I would like to hear more about behind the scenes there. Did we mention the Sun-Times being sold? Not yet. They have been, what was it? They were absorbed with, which other local media outlet, Kid? I knew that they were basically, they were sold, but they were also going to be teamed up with another media outlet here in Chicago. And I'm
yeah. Actually, hold on.
We can't cover everything, Kathy, but we're working on it.
So Chicago Public Media will acquire the Sun-Times. This was an article from WBEZ Chicago. Two of Chicago's best-known media brands are tying the knot as WBEZ's board of directors voted unanimously Tuesday to acquire the Chicago Sun-Times. So Chicago Public Media and the Chicago Sun-Times will be closing the deal on January 31st. So that's 3 days from now.
You ask, Kathy, your wish is our command. There's the details on that. So from what I gathered, Kit, from that story, the Sun-Times has essentially become a dish rag. And I've always admired WBEZ. So I'm hoping that this alliance of Sun-Times being sold to interests affiliated with WBEZ might help preserve or save what's left of that paper and re-strengthen it. I mean, time will tell.
Well, WBZ is also affiliate for NPR.
Yeah, well, on a local level, yeah, we're not thrilled with NPR, but okay, so admittedly, I haven't listened a lot to WBEZ lately. Do you feel that they've been co-opted more by NPR's national stance, becoming more neoliberal and serving the echo chamber of the Democrats, or do you think?
I would say compared to NPR, I mean, it's far more. You can listen to it, but obviously, look, if the way we've covered this, the way the media is run this country, it's all interconnected. It's all tied up. It's just like saying for TYT, what are they independent media? In theory, yes, but they got $24 million of Katzenberg cash. So there's a lot of stories they cannot cover, and they've obviously changed. So same thing with WBEZ. The same thing applies. They're with NPR. There's certain things that they just cannot ever or will do. And this is a long set history of Chicago media being bought up, being gutted out. And it's only there to just control the narrative. But even then, like if you have the combination of, of course, Chicago Public Media and Chicago Sun-Times working together, does it inspire people to consume the content from this union? And chances are probably not, because as you said, sometimes it is a dish rag. Same thing for Tribune. Look at the Red Eye.
Oh,
I'm-
yeah.
I'm-
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So take for example the Red Eye, for example, right? This was 2018. I was there to cover one of Tom Treasure's at DePaul University, one of his speeches about Chicago's Not Broke. We were filming it, right? Before Daniel arrived, I actually read reading the Chicago Red Eye. I was like, oh my God. And the reason why I read it is because the front cover said, "See Pilsen before it's too late." And I thought they were going to talk about the gentrification. I'm like, holy shit, the paper's going to talk about Pilsen being gentrified, 10,000 people being displaced. I get to it. It's a fucking article talking about, oh, here's these hit bars and restaurants to go to. See Pilsen before it's too late. And I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God.
The priority. It's been, okay, I'm going to admit here, it's been a while since I really paid attention or listened to WBEZ. I'll usually click on a link for more of an entertainment or art story that somebody sends me. And I do trust what Kathy Powers is sharing here from her opinion. She's saying it's dreadful. And Ed shares, I think BEZ relies a little too much on the national NPR news feed for some things, but the local news is more reliable. They also tap Block Club Chicago for stories. So Salgado says, remember when local media could actually break stories like Mana Airport flying in cocaine?
Yeah.
Not from the Chicago Tribune Red Eye. All right. Well, listen, that was a pretty full Friday night broadcast. We've come up to almost an hour and a half, and I think that'll be a good cutoff point for us to wrap up the show. Anything else you want to share, Kit, before we bid our viewers good night?
First and foremost, we are very grateful for the growth of Chicago Corner and all of you helping us build this channel up. We are very close to getting this channel to contribute to the 99 Perspective Studio and to the further work we wish to do, especially when it comes down to covering some of these local elections in this 2022 midterm election cycle. There's going to be some key Illinois elections, but also for 2023. So please double check and triple check that you're still subscribed to Chicago Corner. Double check and triple check that you're still subscribed to Hard Lens Media. We are going to continue to grow this channel and collaborate and actually cover stories that you won't see anywhere else. And we're very grateful for all the support from all of you. And hey, look who joined us at the last minute.
Yeah, he's been lounging here. It looked like he was about to give me a little kiss. Somebody said in the live chat, here we go. Yeah. Support Chicago Corner and send some canned kippers to Oreo.
All right. Well, I'm pretty sure Oreo does appreciate that. So there you go.
He does. Listen, Kit, thanks again for joining me tonight.
Always.
Again, everybody, please tune in next Tuesday. I don't want to reveal our guest yet.
But he's going to tell me who it is.
I am. I'm pretty sure. They already.
I want to take a whack at it, boss. Let me have a try with a guess.
Off air. I don't want to spoil it. I think
air.
it'll be a nice surprise for people. And it's going to be primarily on what she shared from what they shared, what they're seeing on the ground with gangs and the communities. So everybody, thanks again for joining in tonight. Please stay safe out there. Take care of each other. Remain vigilant, as so many of you in our live chat do, from Kathy Powers to E. Heller, paying attention to stories, getting involved, to True Democracy Now. I love the interaction that I have with our viewers in the live chat. You're always a part of the show. Until we return on Tuesday, please stay safe. Have a good weekend. And remember, if it's happening on the streets, you'll hear about it here on Chicago Corner. Safe weekend, everybody.
Take care, folks.